Hi, I'm Ken. Today we're going to be talking with Sandy Escobar. 20 years ago, Sandy Escobar founded Women of Worth, which has really impacted this community in an amazing way. Sandy had a son named Sammy, exceptional, autistic, high energy, all-American boy. Sammy was a high-functioning young man, very energetic, a real leader in many respects. His peers respected him at the church. He hunted, he fished. He was an outdoor young man, loved his mom, and really blessed his community. You know, as a restaurant owner and everything that's been going on here, and you hear the word lockdown and businesses have to shut down, I was extremely fortunate to run into Sandy at a board of supervisors meeting and hear the real story of what is going on here. Amazing young lady, and I was real fortunate, as you'll see, to have the opportunity to just sit and talk with her and to hear her story, and it really brought some wholeness in my heart and what is going on in the community, the need for all of us to come together and around Sammy and his life, and you're going to see how wonderful that is in a little bit here. You know, it's really interesting. When March 13th, 2020 came about, I realized what was going on in my life, but I had no idea the impact it was having in Nevada County and in Nevada City and the people all around me. And when I met Sandy, it really brought it home, and it put it all together, recognizing it wasn't just about businesses, it's about life, it's about families, and the impact that all of this has had that is very heartwarming, touching, painful, but very necessary that we dig in and we find hope in all of this. Without further ado, let's go on in and meet Sandy Escobar.
Doesn't smell good.
Yeah.
You know, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And it's like obvious.
Yeah.
Right? We
Oh, yeah.
see it.
We see it,
and
yeah.
then all see it's like stare, you know.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Sandy, you know, a few days ago, I was at the Board of Supervisor meeting, and, you know, the Restaurant Coalition is there and kind of banging away and saying, you know, we can't do this anymore. And I had no idea you were going to show up. And I remember I was sitting outside, I was looking at the board, and I went, who is that? And you came in with a picture of Sammy, and it's hard for me to talk about because I put my head down and I went, I get it. I'm a restaurant owner, and here's your mom. I said, I got to meet this lady. I went, I still am amazed at, and we've had the pleasure of, you know, had a lunch together and we talked about it, got to know a little bit about you, and I'm still intrigued because of the things that have, your life, your background, and so why don't you kind of refresh me, tell me a little bit more of the things we were talking about, because it's just amazing. I'm still desiring to know more about you and the incredible life you've had that would take 3 hours to talk about. But give me a little, I don't know, little snippet. Tell me a little bit more, like some of the things we were talking about. Yeah.
Well, I know we talked about so many different things, and I was, I'm a native of California, and I was born and raised in Sherlock, which is in the Central Valley, and big Portuguese family.
Portuguese?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, grew up there, born, raised, and family life was either really, really good or really, really bad. And so as soon as I could, I graduated high school, got it, you know, left home, just like a lot of teenagers when they can't wait to get out of home. And, and then went to school for a little bit, and then settled in Arizona for the next 10 years following that. And that's where I met my husband. I got married very young and had 3 children, and it's turned out to be, those 10 years were extremely abusive. Very abusive. And I wanted to stick into it because I was not a quitter. But it got really bad and really dangerous, and I knew I had to escape. I had 3 little ones at the time. And
what were the ages?
The time I left, they were 3, 6, and 8.
3, 6, okay. Yeah.
And finally did have the courage after one of the final incidents, which I felt he was going to kill me. This was going to be the one. I thought, if I'm going to die, I'm going to go out fighting. So I did fight back,
Wow.
and then eventually called. I made 2 calls. The second call to my brother, had him come out from Southern California to pick me up and the kids, and whatever they could shove in their pillowcase, their favorite stuffed animal and clothes, and left and came back home to California.
So you're in your 20s about that?
I'm in my 20s.
Or whatever, somewhere in that range. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And
3 kids, you walking down the street or whatever.
Yeah, and just coming back to like, I don't know what to do. I've not been in this situation of being not a place to live, really. I stayed with family, different family, and then eventually did odd jobs, went back to school, found a place to live, but had to stay pretty low key where I was living for safety reasons.
Yeah.
And fight the system that I was not aware of, that as I bought it, to just, to go and say, I needed, like, for one instance, I needed coats for my kids. And I went into a area thrift shop and I just said, I need 3 coats for my kids. They don't have anything. And they kind of looked down on me. They really looked down on me and sent me to the back where they had their discards, which I wouldn't even use as a cap liner or a litter box. And said, that's what you can choose from. And I thought, I've never been on assistance before. I've never reached, I didn't know what to do. I'd never heard of anything, welfare, anything. And so I thought, and then just trying to get into a low-income apartment and told that I was looked down on again and told I need to come back, as he laughed and said, you need to come back when you can bring your income up to poverty level. And for a brief moment there, I thought, I'm going to have to go back to my children's father, and because I'm not going to make it. I'm getting the door slammed on me. And then I just looked down at those 3 little sets of brown eyes looking at me and thinking, I can't do this to them. I have to figure this out. And then at the time I'm taking notes thinking, if this is happening to me, how many other women is this happening to?
You actually thought that during that time?
I did. I thought, so I started making notes and thinking, no wonder so many women, 1, don't leave, or 2, leave and go back, because there at that time were so little resources, or resources that didn't have so many restrictions. They're just that a lot of them had lots of restrictions where it made it impossible for you to survive and start over. And I thought, no, there's got to be, at some point, I would like to do something.
Wow.
No formal degree.
Here you were right in the middle of all of this.
In the middle of it, and just started making notes.
And you still started thinking, oh man, that's incredible.
And then just thought I had to, because I thought I can't imagine. I know this has got to be like this for others.
Wow.
And I know that the fatality rate for those that do go back or try to leave is high. That's when you're killed.
Yeah.
So I thought, no, I have to do something. So it took time, but eventually once I got back on my feet, started very little. By then I was living in Nevada County. I was remarried, and thought, okay, what a better way, how could I meet the community? How could I reach out to the community? I had lots of background with starting businesses, sales, every industry. I had so many industries I've been in. And so I thought, well, I'll just get a job in a restaurant so I can get to know people and get to know who's in the court system, who's this, who's that. And then started filing the papers to start a nonprofit, which eventually would become Women of Worth.
Wow.
And
how long ago was that now?
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
Right here in Nevada County?
We're in Nevada County. We're not affiliated with any other Women of Worth. There's other groups that have kind of copied that name. But we do serve all over the United States because we are privately funded. So we don't have restrictions as far as in-county beds, out of county beds, what we can bring as far as services or groups or studies or faith. So that helps us to better serve and personalize the services. So
did you gather some women together to start that?
I just kind of started it on my own.
Wow.
And I talked to family and I thought, okay, I'll start with a thrift shop because I had a lot of retail and background, and that can start funding the services we need. At least we can get clothes out there. And then I went around to as many organizations as I could to introduce myself and said, this is who I am. This is what I'd like to do. How can I serve you?
Wow.
And 100% of the doors were slammed on me.
Oh.
And it was like, you do your thing, we'll do our thing. And I was just like, for
What?
a second there, I thought, what? But then the feistiness in me, the strong woman in me, and the no, this can't happen. I thought, okay, I'll just do it anyway, and I'll figure it out. And so it was just baby steps, adding services along the way, and talking to survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault to see what would help you when you wanted to leave. What would have helped you to leave sooner, to maybe not get in that situation and breaking that cycle. So we work with the kids, and then so 22 years later, and having a shelter we named after Hetty Williams, which is called Hetty's Haven, and
it's still
it's still
in existence.
still
Are
in
you still
existence.
actively involved in it?
I recently stepped down due to my son's death.
Okay.
Um,
That's so it's recent.
Yeah, that was very recent. I'm still the president of the board and still very active as far as talking with our team. And
Obviously,
we're very close.
The firecracker, no doubt about it.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's just a passion. When I look back and I talk to some high school friends, they said, Sandy, you don't remember, but when you were in high school, you were helping teenagers back then that found out they were, you know, pregnant or in a bad situation, and you would find them a place to live and find them clothes and find them. And I didn't think of that then. You're just like, oh my gosh, someone needs help, and you just did what you had to do.
What a blessing you've been to the community, man. And then, man, I appreciate that. It's so cool. It's good to get to know you. I'm looking forward to more and more. And as I see the Women of Worth, you said you stepped down. You have you had an amazing son named Sammy, and as I didn't know him, but as I read about him, I just wish I could have gotten to know him, because he sounds like a real gift and a treasure, not only to you, but in the community. And would you mind, if you can?
I can. I'll get emotional.
No, it's okay. That's why we have wine right here.
Right. So Sammy was my youngest of 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys. And Sammy was my, later in life, amazing surprise blessing. And he was, from the time I found out I was expecting him, from the time he left Earth, he was, to know him and to meet him, he was, everybody loved him. And I know a lot of moms will say, oh, my child's this, my child's that, but I am 100% confident that anybody you would talk to would say, yeah, that was Sam. That was Sammy. He just touched so many lives. He was this child that, you know, he just had a heart to serve, a heart to give. He helped alongside, you know, at Women of Worth, with the kids at Hetty's Haven, at fundraisers, at events, holding up banners, you know, help abused children, and would mentor the kids and donate his toys and bicycles to the kids and hang out with them over at Hetty's Haven and just attend every fundraiser. And a lot of, you know, even as a teenager, and a lot of teenagers that may not be fun, but he was right there, and he would leave me notes. He'd write on napkins or paper towels to me, Mom, you did great. I'm proud of you. Mom, you're so strong. And on little napkins, and I still have those. And I'm like, I would always tell him, I said, Sammy, one day you're going to make such an amazing husband and a daddy. And the kids I talked to, his classmates that have been reaching out and sharing memories about how he was the one they went to when they were having a bad day or needed help with schoolwork or just needed encouragement. And he would just sit down and talk to them and say, you doing okay? And then he would write little smiley faces on their papers or draw a smiley face on their hand. And someone would drop their books at school, and he would pick it up and pick up their books and go, here you go, have a good day. And the teachers even said Sammy was the student. And even though you're not supposed to have favorites, they would say it was hard with Sam. It was impossible, because at the end of the day, he would stick around, help clean up the classroom, you know, straighten out those chairs. And he had this contagious, kind of captivating smile that let especially his one favorite teacher know that he he would look over at Sammy and he said, it just grounded me. I looked at Sammy and it's like Sammy was telling me it's going to be okay. And he had just this smile of just this way of just
Wow.
calming and bringing such love. And he opened the door for me. He carried groceries. He wanted to help me pay bills when things were tough. He helped elderly. I mean,
Wow.
he was never asked to do that. It was just natural. He just had this heart. Or he saw somebody that, Mom, they don't have good tennis shoes, and I have extra money from recycling cans. Can we go buy him tennis shoes? And he took out our next door neighbor who was very elderly and a recent widow. Every week he took out her garbage for her to the road and then brought it back. And it was, we were living in the woods, so it was a good walk back and forth to take it. And he, with a smile on his heart, and the gifts he would make for others or make for me, just sweet. He'd always pick out little flowers from outside, and I'd find them on my nightstand, a little vase, and just
Amazing.
Just amazing. And I mean, and loved animals. He was a dog magnet. They just flocked to him because they knew Sammy was a safe person. He was a loving person.
Wow.
And everybody, kid you not, that met him was just like, wow, what an amazing son.
And you told me a little bit about how the two of you got your house together. And did you say you remodeled it, or
we worked on?
You worked on it
yeah,
together.
We worked on it.
You got it together.
Yeah, it's a log home.
Little log home.
And the first thing we moved in was his Lincoln logs and my Lincoln logs. So both our Lincoln logs from our childhoods.
Right.
And moved that in first. And then for the next 5 years, we worked on restoring it and fixing it up because it had been not taken care of before that. It was empty for
So
quite
he
a
was
while.
actively involved in
He was actively
doing
involved. And what he didn't learn, we had friends come over that are contractors and helped teach us both. And I have so many videos and pictures of him putting up pencils, sanding down the logs on the outside of the deck, or building things and painting.
Cool.
And he just never complained. Just like, okay, what else? He was so excited, and he learned so many things. He had an amazing heart.
What a special young man. Life is moving along, and the two of you are loving each other and just enjoying life together. And then
we did a lot of things. I got him as a single mom. I wanted to pour into, because he didn't ask to come from a broken family. So I just found out what he was passionate about and said, okay, you want to learn blacksmithing? Let's do that. You want to learn archery? You want to get into 4-H? You want to learn about hunting and target shooting and fishing? Whatever it was, I said, okay, let's do it. Let's figure it out. And we figured out a way to make it happen. And we just were always doing road trips or little adventures. And all the people he met in those areas, they said, wow, he's a natural. He's so safe with archery or safe with a firearm, or he just was a natural and safe and took it serious and just did so well. And he hunted for food, not just for the sport, for food, and it was just natural, and we just had so much fun. And I don't know, he was excited about when he would get his first pig or turkey or bear or whatever it was, or fish.
I love to go hunting with him.
Oh my gosh. And he was just so calm about it. And I'm like, afterwards he's like, there's a bear, boom. Or there's, whatever it was. And again, it was all for food. And then he learned how to self-butcher and prepare it. And he never said, I'm tired or anything. And
I love it.
People stepped in and said, okay, we're going to learn how to butcher this, and you're going to learn how to wrap it, and we're going to learn how to cook.
Wow.
And lots of memories on the road with him. And his dog, Zoe. And
Zoe,
okay. She was a rescue. That was his second rescue.
Okay.
And Zoe, and it's true about every boy needs a dog. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I do too, yeah.
And those two, we always say, yes, we may have adopted Zoe, but she really adopted us. Oh, and the bond those two had, amazing, just absolutely amazing.
So, I'd love to have gone hunting with him. I just sound like my kind of guy, one of my kids. But what a story. I mean, what I'm thinking as I hear you talk, a year ago, in March of 2020, something changed here when here I am. I don't know you. And here I am in the restaurant, and we get a message, COVID, we got to shut down. And I bring all my employees in, and I have a meeting with them, and they're all sitting there, pray for them. And I don't know where this is going to go, you know. And so we started that journey of our restaurant and, you know, my world, you know, what was going on. And I had no idea where it would take us to today, but I know what I was going through over the past year. And I came to the conclusion shortly that this was much bigger than COVID. And I just sensed it, and I know it. And for today, I know for a fact it's bigger. And to hear, I think what got me was when I saw you, it really hit home that there was something going on in your life when March came around, because I hear your story of what you and Sammy are doing. And now something changed at that point, you know, for you. So what went on in that, you know, those, you know, the early part there of, you know, here's Sammy, you know what he does in your relationship. I know how it impacted this, you know, business stuff and all that, and my employees, but for you, Mom, and special relationship and all you've done together. And something changed on your end that most people don't hear about. They hear about, you know, oh, you own a restaurant and, you know, whatever, but they don't hear you and Sammy. Just tell me a little bit about what happened there.
When it came down and we found out that schools were shutting down, the first thing I did was call his, they called a crew teacher in high school. It's his homeroom teacher who we were very close. The three of us were very close, and in the best interest of Sammy. And I called immediately. I said, "Oh my gosh, okay, school shut down. What can I do for Sammy to keep him socialized and because he really thrived having that interaction, having that socialization at school and high school. A lot of friends, and you know, for 16-year-olds, that's, you know, that's a tender age. Huge. That's huge. Yeah, that's everything. I bet. So we were trying to make a plan of what to do, and then, you know, it was going to be distance learning, and how was this going to look? And then we had lockdowns where we couldn't even, you know, go out and wear a mask, and limited this, and just like the world for my son shut down, and for many youth. So you were scrambling. I was scrambling. Yeah. I mean, I know I was scrambling, but to hear the story of your side of it is I was scrambling because Sammy was extremely bright, extremely sensitive. So this rocked his world. I mean, and he was looking at me, like watching my reaction. He was very protective of me. We were like peanut butter and jelly. You know, just that's how close we were. Just look and you know. Yeah, you just knew. You just know. And so I'm trying to keep that straight face, like everything's going to be okay. But he would see, because I was worried, because then at the same time I'm thinking about Woman of Worth is, you know, we can't get the services to clients. We can't. You know, that's right, because you're still involved. Yeah, we're still involved at that time, and our office had to be shut down. And how do we help? Yeah. And then all of a sudden we have no income coming in because everything's fundraisers, everything's canceled. So there was a lot of things going on, and I'm thinking, okay, how do we do this? We're going to do this. We're going to be fine. And I kept him as busy as I could. I still found reasons. I'll drive you to the desert. We'll go out and we'll go target shooting, or we'll look for treasures. We loved looking for treasures in the desert, just old things. You know, doing whatever we could. But I'd now and then see a change in Sammy, because all of a sudden there's no more youth group. There's not going to buddies' friends' houses to go fishing or to hang out, because we couldn't, we weren't allowed. Right. And we couldn't see family. You know, you couldn't do there's a lot of things with, you know, just like with everybody, all of a sudden the world stopped. Right. And I see now, but I don't think back then any of us would have expected the magnitude this would have happened. No. And so that's in March, and we're going by, and months are going by, and then I said, we're going to take a road trip. We're going to figure out, and we we're helping my oldest daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren move to Idaho. And so all of us tailgated in our trucks and moving them and thought we'll make this a family thing. And then from there, we'll go on to Wyoming and Montana, and we'll do school from the road, because all Zoom classes, which it's just, it doesn't work. It does not work. And
so Sammy had a laptop and trying to do it
yes,
at home, just like everybody else was
just
doing?
like anyone else. And it was a joke. So we did that, and then on the way back, we stopped in Nevada on the way back to a friend who was Sam's like mentor, like a father figure to him, a real father figure to him that taught him hunting. Took him. He was a hunting outfitter. He is a hunting outfitter. So he took him, and Sam helped on the hunts and helped learn all the things. And
nice.
So Sam was going to do his first chukar hunting, and so we did that, and he was so excited, and I have pictures of that.
Oh, cool.
And then came home, and came home on the 26th of October, and then on the 30th of October, I was leaving. He was doing Zoom classes and getting ready to go on another class, and I was going to leave to check on a neighbor and then run a couple errands. And I said, I'll be right back. And he was sitting at the dining room table, and we always said, I love you throughout the day. I said, okay, I love you, buddy. And he goes, I love you too, Mom. And then we do our own version of I love you.
Oh,
and we just did that all the time. And so I said, okay, I'll be back in maybe 45 minutes. And left and went to the neighbors, checked on them, and then started to run errands. And I had a just really bad feeling in my gut. And I thought, no, don't be a helicopter parent. And I couldn't shake it. So I came home, and I was calling him to tell him I was coming home. And he didn't answer his phone. I texted him. I said, where are you, Sammy? I walked in the house. First thing I noticed was Zoe was in her crate. And I thought, well, that's odd. And his Chromebook was where it was, sitting at the table, closed. And I'm running through the house and up and down the stairs. And my heart's just starting to race. And then, we thinking, oh God, please no. And, started opening closets and ran through the house yelling for him and running outside and ran into my garage and looked around and then didn't see him, and then ran back up the steps into the house, and then I stopped and I go, what's that smell? It smells like gunpowder. And I turned and ran back out to the garage and fell on him. And Sammy died by suicide. No signs, no clues, nothing. Other than I do know he was concerned the weeks before, and that's why I prompted to take the road trip. I didn't care if somebody would try to arrest us for traveling in different states. I was going to do it in the best interest for my son. And I know he begged his school to please reopen, as a lot of kids did. And I would have never imagined this, son, ever.
Wow. And just prior to that, did he seem really depressed or no? He held it in. He held it
together.
Like many kids that would hold it in. And
I think he did, and I think he was because he was so protective of me, and always making sure. So he wasn't everybody's. His grandma is okay. His grandma okay. His other siblings that were grown and living in other states, or just people around him. And the only thing I think is, whatever happened is that flip, because it was right after his Zoom class, the last one, and I just keep thinking maybe if I'd gotten home just a few minutes earlier, or maybe if he'd had 20 seconds longer to think about, whatever. I know he was very concerned about not being in school, and very concerned what was going on in our country. He was very much your all-American, loved God, loved his country, loved his family, loved his puppy, and he loved his mama bear, me. And he was really deeply, that really concerned him, seeing what was going around, with his friends. And he felt things. He felt deeply, he loved deeper.
Wow. Yeah.
So after I found Sammy, and I knew there was nothing I could do to put my boy, back together again, I just felt like slow motion. I just remember screaming no, and then running outside to the front and screaming for help, and screaming and screaming and screaming. And there were people around, and those people just turned another ear. And a neighbor, Justin, came over, heard me, and came over. He thought I was getting attacked by a dog, but he came over first. And by that time, I'm screaming and wailing and laying in the dirt in my front yard. And then some tree guys came over that also heard. And by then, I'm trying to call 911 and on the phone with them. And it seemed like forever before they got out there, but it wasn't. And just thinking, this can't have happened. This couldn't have happened. This isn't happening. Still today, it's been 4 months, and I still think he's going to come home. He's just out wandering. He's going to come home.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, just that feeling of what? And then as I think I was calling, but I know different people were showing up that had heard already, and calls were being made, so different people were coming out to support and, just to be their family.
Right.
I did call Sam's father, and he came out, and then some of Sam's friends from youth group heard about it, and neighbors, boys in the neighborhood that went to school and youth group with Sam came over, but everyone was very respectful, and I just said, please don't let anybody in the, where Sam's at. Nobody needs to have that image, And just remember asking the sheriffs in the corner, please, can you put a blanket on my baby? Can you keep him warm? He's just laying there on the concrete. It just seemed like forever before. It just seems surreal. And why would this? But I know why. This lockdown, the school closures, the county being shut down, businesses. Sammy couldn't get jobs, because businesses are closed. And it is. I blame that. I do. Our kids are dying, and they're taking their lives, and it's senseless. And the devastation effect from our children dying, and especially Sammy dying, the devastation to a community. I had no idea the magnitude that my son, how many people he touched in this community, and actually all over the United States, that knew him from hunting or being, involved with the Women of Worth. He touched countless lives, and the devastation is a rippling effect.
Wow.
And his celebration of life was, I planned it to be in person. Even though we were locked down, I was not going to let that stop. When they said wait till March of 2021 to do it, no, it was not going to happen. We needed, as a family, my children, my family needed to have this, and hundreds attended his celebration of life in person, and then the rest that didn't feel comfortable maybe in person attended at a private online viewing where they could watch it live online. And the people that spoke, the classmates that spoke, I learned so much more about the lives and the notes that were left about things how Sammy encouraged them, how Sammy made them want to go on in school and be a better person and be like Sammy. And he always had this smile, and he was always happy. And he's, and he had a little prankster side of him too, playing little fun jokes that he probably learned from me, because we both love playing pranks. And but he was a model child, a teen, a good role model. Yeah. The all-American, good boy, respectful. He should be here.
Well, I think the reason why my heart is in this and so broken is that the language and what I hear as a business owner in my shoes, and my kids are grown up now, and I don't have any at home, and seeing what I've read of the side effects and the despair and what's going on is in the business world, and what people are hearing today is COVID. You want to make certain that someone doesn't have the illness, and the focus is all around that. But right in that layer that's not spoken of is what you're talking about, is the ripple of, while I'm doing this, the lives that are, the lives in this community. Lockdown is not just shutting a business. And all of this did go on, is still going on. Sammy's friends and you and all across the nation, in our county and across the nation, unnecessarily.
It's an epidemic.
It's an epidemic, exactly. That's the disease that's going on now. And that is one of the reasons I wanted to speak to you, because as painful to hear your story, it brings a sense of reality in my life of a living human being on this earth, and gives me meaning and purpose to stand where I need to stand, so I can come alongside the real issue, not to put down people that did die of sicknesses, but those are things that we don't control. The outside pestilences and sicknesses and viruses that come and go throughout history. But what man can do to take an issue and impact people's lives by bad decisions shouldn't happen. Yeah. And I just want to thank you that you are, so gracious to share this, that I need, and so many people need to hear of what happened, and so transparent. And I just thank you for your heart, and what I hear in this, or what I sense is the life, the boy, the All-American, and your heart and the breath and the celebration that can go on. We can take this and help to bring restoration and wholeness, and I think also perspective on what's really happened here and what is happening, that we could put an end to that, to put a stake in the ground and say, it doesn't have to be this way. And we do not have to take kids and affect them the way they do, which is the heart and soul of moms and families. So what would you like this to grow into? Sammy's spirit, Sam's, his life, his joy, his, the uplifting part of it. You did Women of Worth, and you created a tremendous, and this is like the next chapter almost. It's that and this. What is it we could do here in the community, or how can we move, to keep this thing alive?
I think, first and foremost, we need to not be so scared or ashamed to talk about suicide. It's still such a taboo subject. People don't want to talk about it. They're maybe afraid they're going to catch the suicide bug if they hang around someone who has been affected by suicide. Right. We need to be okay to talk about mental health and really pay attention to our youth. That the ones that are taking their lives by suicide are between the ages of 8 and 24. That's sickening. That should not happen. And it's happening every day. So if we can bring awareness about that, feel comfortable about talking about mental health, because all of us have been affected. Yeah. It affected this whole thing has affected all of us with anxiety, depression, feeling hopeless, feeling what will feel normal. Will we feel normal again? Will we be able to hug, go to weddings? Right. Everything. So with Sammy, he had such a light spirit. I don't want him to be forgotten about. Right. Because he made such an impact on everybody. Didn't matter young or old. He touched lives. And to know that, that's our youth. Let's pay attention to our youth. being online, being on Zoom classes, being in front of a screen, it's not healthy. And then it's just not healthy for anything. You go into other areas, you don't have that human contact. You know, Sammy was very much a hugger. So very much physical touch.
Oh, cool.
So needed that. We need to get back to, it's okay to hug, and it's okay to hold hands. It's okay to sit by each other and elbow each other, or do the little, this thing that the kids do. And,
Right.
And get activities, get these kids back into sports, and all the things they enjoy. And I know one of the things that I'd love to see something. We were talking about making maybe making a couple benches for Sammy, but even maybe more than that.
Oh, yeah.
And not so much about about Sammy,
Right.
but to bring light. This is serious. This is not your troubled youth that this happened to.
Right.
You could not get more of a upstanding teenager than my son, really. I mean, he was a role model and encouraged others. And because of his death, there are other students, friends of his, that have since struggled with suicidal thoughts or attempts, because Sammy was like this kid to them who they went to, and now he's gone. So why?
Right.
It's
their hero.
It's serious. He was
Yeah.
their hero, and now
Yeah.
he's gone. So to live on with his memory, how that could be, I know, maybe doing some kind of festival, walks, runs, hikes,
Mhm.
things that he loved, and bringing awareness, but making it fun for kids, getting them interacting again,
Great.
getting them together.
Right.
We need that. These kids are suffering from
Exactly.
things, and we won't know for generations to come the impact
Right.
of what this pandemic has caused
Right.
unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And it scares me to think of what that could be. I know a friend of mine started, childhood friend from Turlock, Michelle Sanchez, started a Facebook group called Steps for Sammy, and it's to bring awareness to youth suicide. And so she approached me with it, and she goes, "I'd like to start this group." And started maybe a month ago, and there's maybe over 600 members so far.
Oh,
and,
really?
and it's people all over.
Wow.
And it's yes to bring awareness and talk and to keep Sammy's memory alive, but it's also for us because Sammy loved the outdoors, loved hiking, to
Okay.
get us outdoors, all of us,
Mm-hmm.
and take steps in Sammy's memory, but for our mental health, because
Right.
it's so beneficial if we can get out in the fresh air and walk and hike. And a lot of people, it's on Facebook called Steps for Sammy, and you join. A lot of people will post their steps for that day or take a picture of a
Right.
tree or what they did.
Right.
And some people do and they don't post. That's okay, as long as they're getting outside.
Right.
And already the stories we're hearing about, oh my gosh, I don't have anxiety anymore. My depression is lifting.
Oh, cool.
Thank you so much. Sammy is saving lives. That right there.
That's what you want.
That's what we want.
Right.
Get outside, walk.
Exactly.
Just walking does so much.
Exactly.
And breathing in the air and making eye contact with people
Mhm.
and smiling. Sammy and I had this thing that we did since he was little, I think as far back as 8 years old. Every day we'd make a pact that if we could, our goal was to make eight people smile a day each. And however that
great.
was, and he'd come home from school, "Okay, Mom, I got 9 today. What'd you get?" But it was done, he did it sincerely.
Right.
Just in a grocery store, "Hi, how you doing?" Or just smiling at someone. That right there.
What a
You
cool
don't
guy.
know if maybe what they were thinking at that moment. And this was long before thinking, they could be, now I think of it since Sammy's death, but thinking maybe that person's thinking of taking their life. And maybe
Mhm.
they're their shining light that day.
Right.
So if you can just reach out and give someone a genuine smile, reach something that they can't reach in the grocery store shelf, something, hold a door open and say, "Hi, how you doing?"
I know.
Just can change someone's whole outlook. So just simple things like that. Nothing doesn't have to be, if we all just do little things,
I know.
it builds. It
Well,
builds.
I just sense that when you use the words of hugs and making people laugh, and the vibrant relationship and the connectivity had in the community, how desperately we need that today.
Yeah.
It almost you can't even think of it anymore with where people are today.
Yeah.
But I am, in getting to know you and getting your tenacious spirit, which I want to ask you about in a minute. This gelling together to bring that Sammy joy and his love and outdoor and connectivity and hugging, we're going to make that happen. We are going to find ways to get kids together, moms together, mom and dads together. It could be old timers together. He worked with old people too.
He did.
I mean, young and old.
Yeah.
That there is a connectivity of his loving, kind, gentle spirit that we need. And I think for myself, I think I could speak for anyone that would hear your story, say, that's what I want. That's what I want. It's tangible, it's real. Yes, we know something's going on out here, and we can't say there's nothing happening, because I have to go with the people that have had illnesses and people that are deaths. But this death is unnecessary. But this death, in my opinion, can bring life and resurrection to our community through Sammy, which leads me. I've gotten to know you a little bit, and you have a tremendous amount of steel, in you. And I know that it just didn't come out of nowhere. But tell us a little bit, tell me, how have you endured that? I mean, I would have gone off the end myself with what you went through. So what held you? How did your faith, what was it?
No, it was, I will say, immediately when Sam died, did I think of ending my life too, so I could be with him? Absolutely. For a brief moment there, I thought about that, because I just wanted to be with my son.
Right.
And then when I saw immediately the devastation that this unnecessary death has caused, I thought, there's no way I can double impact this community,
Right.
my family,
Mm-hmm.
my children. And then who wins if I did that?
Right.
So I thought, And the feistiness in me, the strong will in me, oh, hell no, this is not going to happen. I am going to find some strength. And yes, is my faith. But it's also looking around at the classmates of his that I've become pretty close with.
Yeah.
And looking at them that I consider my children now too, and wanting to help them and saying, please, your life matters. You have worth.
Right.
You have so much. You are our future.
Wow.
So that, and it's day by day for me. I grief, there's nothing worse than a mother losing a child. Nothing. And then to lose a child to suicide. That was so unnecessary and senseless
Right.
and preventable. We can't let this happen. So if one life can be saved, and I believe more will be,
Right.
not just one, that's what we need to do, because these are our precious children. They're our future, and we want them healthy and strong. They're our leaders.
Yeah.
And Sammy would want that, because he was, when I was down, he was up. When he was down, I was up. I mean, we were a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Sammy would want me to do something. I know he would not want me just to roll over in my grave.
Right.
He would want me, and he'd say, "Atta girl, Mom, there's my mama bear. Do this."
Well, I just want to thank you for sharing, and I don't know, I feel like we need to raise a cup here for Sammy.
Yes. Yeah.
And to say, God is good, all-American boy,
Mm-hmm.
good God, good country, an amazing mom. And this is to God and the spirit of Sammy to infest this community with his loving kindness and bring restoration through his life and your sharing and your testimony. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
Yeah.